Hello, good morning. You're watching Market Cafe on ET Now, and I'm Vinny Motiwala. Let's get started with what happened in the global world and what is actually the handover that we're getting. Do not forget, yesterday the US markets were closed, but this morning, when we're seeing in terms of the US futures that are trading, a slight bit of an uptick, little unchanged time of a move that we're seeing for the US futures. So S&P 500 futures, they've little unchanged on the Wall Street, keeping an eye out on that. The previous trading session, we've surely seen them hit those record high levels, especially Nvidia, which made a sharp up move that was leading to a better move for Nasdaq. That was day before yesterday that we saw. Now yesterday, what we saw in terms of Asian markets, actually this morning, let's talk about how that opened up. Yes, we did have the China data that started coming in, but other than that, ASX 200, Nikkei as well as Shanghai seem to be a bit where flattish in trade. ASX 200 is down almost 0.04%, Nikkei down 0.8% in trade, while Shanghai is also trading a bit with the negative bias. So yes, not much of an excitement that we are seeing today coming in overall from the Asian markets as of now. I'm going to just read the data that came in from the China front. Now, the China's 1-year low in prime rate, they've kept it unchanged at 3.5%. The estimate was also that much. Similarly, the 5-year loan prime rate also has remained unchanged at 3.95%. When you're looking at it in terms of Yuan, the Chinese Yuan, that has seen a drop, and that's the weakest that one has seen the Chinese Yuan trading at amid the strong dollar. Dollar started strengthening, China's Yuan has been started seeing a bit of a pressure there, and obviously this is all related to the data points that have been coming from China. So it's going to be interesting to see how we see Indian markets also open up in trade. As of now, Nifty implied open surely indicating a bit of a muted start, and let's not forget, Nifty has snapped its 5-session gaining streak yesterday. So today will be interesting to see. Yesterday was a bit of a flip-floppy day that we saw coming in for the Nifty. So let's keep an eye out on that front from a global market point of view, Asian market point of view. As of now, when you talk about it, it's a bit of a muted start because even European markets, they were also quite a mixed of a close that they had yesterday. So interesting to watch out for how the Indian markets will open up. But let's move on and talk about Brent crude oil. What is that doing in trade? When you're looking at Brent crude oil prices have seen a bit of a rise coming in, and after that it's become a bit of a flat line right now. Brent crude oil trading at $85 per barrel mark, WTI crude oil trading at $81.35 per barrel mark. Let's not forget what we saw as a rise coming in for Brent crude oil in an early morning trade was mainly because of Israel-Gaza issues that have been going on, and because of that, a bit of the tension again comes up, and that's what swells up the prices sometimes. So we're keeping an eye out on Brent crude oil prices, where they shape up because of the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. That's a key area that we've always spoken about. So that continues to be a bit of a concern for the Brent crude oil prices moving upwards for anyone and any country that is going to be buying Brent crude oil. Other than that, let's look at the gold prices, where gold prices are headed. Gold prices, bit of a muted day today also for the gold prices. So not much of an up move that we're seeing whether for Brent crude oil prices or gold prices as of now. Gold prices is trading at $2,345 per ounce, keeping an eye out on that, and everyone's watching out for gold, what Fed does, and on the back of that everyone is going to be taking their moves for the rate cuts, right? This time they didn't take the cut, but will they be taking a cut? If they do take, then how that move and what investors actually look at, because gold is a safe haven and everyone backs on it. As of now, a muted day of trade coming in for gold. Silver, on the other hand, has seen a rise this morning of around more than 1%. So silver surely shining bright. Other than that, we have copper, platinum, which is also seeing a bit of a rise this morning. So yes, that's how we are seeing the commodities move this morning. Interesting to watch out for through the day if we see any changes coming in. And even palm oil prices, that's a key factor to watch out for from an Indian point of view. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Moving on, let's talk about important events that you're watching out for this morning. And yes, PM Modi is going to be in Kashmir, a 2-day visit that will be happening. So keep an eye out on commentaries on that front. We also have RBI Shaktikanta Das that will be talking at an event. So if any more incremental data points, do not forget 2 days back at the ET Now event, also he was the keynote speaker and did talk about a lot of growth points. Other than that, we have PM who will be visiting also Chennai to flag off the Vande Bharat train. So yes, he's going to be at a lot of places. But yes, today meet in Kashmir. Then there's going to be Chennai, and the MEA, that's Ministry of External Affairs, S. Jaishankar is to visit Colombo, and that is going to be from today. Keep an eye out on any commentary on that front. In the global markets, we'll watch out for the Bank of England's rate decision. In the US markets, let's keep an eye out on those initial jobless claim data point, as well as fundraising points that we're watching out for today is going to be from Vedanta, Spandana Spurti, in terms of fundraising needs that they have, what is the form that they will be raising. Any fund is going to be key factor to watch out for. So yes, that's the events to watch out for, and a lot in terms of the global updates that you all have so far. Some of the top important stories that are happening in the global market. Let's get started with tracking that this morning. Now, inflation in the United Kingdom has actually returned to the Bank of England's 2% target for the first time in 3 years. The CPI for the month of May came in at around 2% versus 2.3% in the previous month. Food prices providing the biggest fillip for the downturn and downward move that we saw there. Do remember that the fall follows nearly 3 years of above target inflation, and despite the decline, few economists think that the Bank of England will reduce interest rates from 5.25% as policymakers continue to be worried about the scale of the price rise that is possible, especially in the service sector, and the pace of wage hikes, which is a rising risk on an inflation relapse if the rates are eased too soon. So everyone is quite alert on that front. We'll wait out for more commentary on that, because Bank of England's rate decision is also something we're watching out for today. Let's move on and to some update from New Zealand. New Zealand's economy exited the recession with a modest expansion in the first quarter. The GDP, that's a gross domestic product, gained almost 0.2% from the previous quarter when it declined 0.1%. What economists are highlighting, economists expected that 0.1% growth would be there. GDP rose by 0.3% from the year earlier quarter, and beating the 0.2% estimate. Now, despite the headline increase, details were mixed beneath the surface, with only 8 of 16 industry sectors expanding during the quarter, led by rental, hiring, real estate, service, electricity and generation. So two positive news that have come so far. Let's move on to some updates coming in on the China front, and what we're talking about is rating agency Fitch no longer expects China to cut its policy rate this year, instead delaying such a reduction to the next year as the US Federal Reserve is keeping its interest rate high. Fitch now forecasts that China will keep its one-year medium-term lending facility unchanged at 2.5% and cut it to 2.25% in the next year, and that is what we read as a data point even right now. Other than that, remember, in the month of March, the rating agency had a forecast of one cut for FY 2024. Moving on and shifting focus to some geopolitical issues that have been happening, and Yemen's Houthi militants are believed to have sunk another ship in the Red Sea. Red Sea issue has been going on for a while, and now the global shipping players have urged action to stop attacks on the merchant ships. The Houthis and other sources previously identified the damaged ship as the Greek-owned Tutor that was struck by missiles and an explosive laden a remote-controlled boat. Now, the sinking of the Tutor marks the second drowning of a commercial vessel by the Houthis since November, and in what is being referred to as a show of solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza. So surely those concerns about Red Sea issue is continuing, and that's causing a lot of prices in terms to increase, because Red Sea was the main route that comes in there. So keeping an eye out on that one. Moving on and centering the focus on climate now, based on news flows. According to a report, global fossil fuel emission hit an all-time high. Even as the shares of the fossil fuel on global energy mix were mixed and saw a mild downtick in the year gone by, overall, the global primary energy consumption hit an all-time high of 620 measures that are included there, as emission exceeds 40 gigatons of CO2 for the first time. Moving on, where the Russian President Putin has actually gone to visit North Korea. What we're seeing, North Korea has laid out the red carpet for the Russian President Vladimir Putin as he visits the isolated nation for the first time in 24 years. Putin and Kim Jong-un have signed a mutual defense clause as they look to deal with external aggressors from the West. Let's go across to my colleague Srinjoy, who is joining in with us to give us more details on what's happening on ground and between North Korea as well as the president of Russia. Listen in.
With the West firmly with Ukraine as far as the war is concerned, Russia also is looking towards its allies for weapons, for ammunition, for other military help. India is a friend, but India is not a military ally in that sense, in the way that China is, North Korea is, Iran has helped with weapons, as also other countries. But importantly, Putin's visit to North Korea today is a clear sign that Putin is reaching out, and North Korea is a country that can help with weaponry, perhaps also ammunition. And Putin has gone just not by himself. There is Sergei Lavrov, his experienced foreign minister, with him. The deputy prime minister, Mr. Manturov, is there. His new defense minister is there, Belousov. So it's a clear reaching out to Pyongyang. And perhaps it will help the Russians in the war effort, because Russia clearly wants more weapons, it wants more ammunition, and it wants help from all the countries that will give it help. And it's quite likely that Pyongyang, North Korea really, will give it the kind of help that Russia is hoping for.
Okay, thank you so much for that update there, Srinjoy. But we have a very exciting report that came in from Knorr, and which is highlighting about celebrity valuations, right? So you want to know where your celebrity brand value is standing at? Then Virat Kohli is topping the charts again. Last year he was at number 2. This is for 2023. So in 2022 he was at number 2 and surely climbed up to the first position again with a brand value of $227.9 billion. At number 2, we do have Ranveer Singh, who was at number 1 last year. So yes, Virat Kohli and Ranveer Singh swapping places. Ranveer Singh's brand value stands at $200 million, and this is for the first time he's reaching the $200 million mark and holds 50 brands in his portfolio. At number 3, we do have Shah Rukh Khan, that's making the list in the top 5 this time. Last year he was at number 10. Now he's moved on a spot, moved on 7 spots and coming at number 3. $120.7 million is what his brand value is at. Moving on at number 4, we do have Akshay Kumar. So he's moved down a spot from number 3 last year to number 4, and his brand value is at $111.7 million. And making it at number 5, we have Alia Bhatt, who's moved out the spot as well. But yes, holding on to number 5, and total brand value of Alia Bhatt is at $101.1 million. So surely factors seem like that, resurgence of Bollywood coming in back, and a lot of these actors and celebrities have been making a lot of investments in startups as well, and that is what is aiding overall their brand value. So yes, Alia Bhatt also did have that Eden Mama, which was her brand, which she sold to Reliance, and all this is something that is supporting these brand values, and that is an interesting report that's come in there. Kohli making it at number 1 on the top list in 2023. But on that note, we are going to slip into a very short break. Viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more updates, more domestic updates after the short break. Welcome back, and you're watching Market Cafe on ET now. Quick look at what the Asian markets are doing right now. Shanghai moved a bit on the positive side right now. Hang Seng 2 on the positive side. It's up almost 0.1% is what you could say. Around that range is what Hang Seng and Shanghai are managing on to move to. Kospi also managing to hold on to gains of almost 0.2% in trade. So while these three managing to hold on to gains, we are seeing ASX 200 as well as Nikkei managing to see a bit of a subdued performance. So yes, that's the update right now we have on the Asian markets. The China's prime loan rate has come in unchanged. Keep an eye out on that. Indian market still indicating a muted opening as of now, with the Nifty implied up just 0.1% in trade. But let's move on, because through the day we do have a very exciting lineup for you all on the market, and what you should be watching out for. At 9:20 a.m. we have Dinshaw Irani, CEO at Helios Mutual Fund, joining in with us to talk about where the markets are headed. What is the growth roadmap for KIMS Hospital? We'll be talking about that with Dr. B. Bhaskar Rao, CMD at the company, at 9:30 a.m. Other than that, what's the ethanol opportunity? A lot of updates that come in on that front. Is that going to turn out to be a big story? 9:40 a.m. we'll be talking to the MD and CEO of Praj Industry, Mr. Joshipura, will be joining in with us. Agri, rural, that's the new theme, right? Populist is what the government wants to go. So we will be talking about all those themes at 10 a.m. with Siraj Hussain, former Union Agriculture Secretary, visiting a senior fellow at ICRIER, joining in with us. And with him, we do have Akshay D'Souza, Chief of Growth and Insights at Bizom, joining in with us for a discussion. Lastly, at 10:20 a.m. on the markets, you will be watching out for Ashok Atluri, who is the CMD at Zen Technologies, joining in with us to talk about the growth roadmap for Zen Technologies and where is it headed. Welcome back. You're watching Market Cafe on ET Now. And what's happening on the domestic front? Now, the Union Cabinet has gone ahead and approved the support prices for 14 kharif crops for marketing season 2024-2025. The crops include paddy, ragi, bajra, jawar, maize and cotton. And the MSP for the most popular kharif crop, paddy, has been hiked by 117 rupees from 2,183 rupees per quintal to 2,300 rupees per quintal. The highest absolute increase in price were seen for oilseeds, pulses that also include likes of Niger seed, sesamum and tur is what is included there as well. Let's hear out what the Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw had to say himself on the MSP prices.
Today's cabinet also, one very important decision has been taken regarding the welfare of farmers. खरीफ सीजन स्टार्ट हो रहा है. खरीफ सीजन के लिए 14 क्रॉप्स पे मिनिमम सपोर्ट प्राइस आज कैबिनेट ने अप्रूव किया है. धान का नया एमएसपी, पैडी का नया एमएसपी खरीफ के लिए 2,300 रुपीस डिक्लेयर किया गया है, which is 117 rupees increment over the previous MSP. आप इसको 2,300 को अगर आप कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखना चाहोगे, that is अगर 2013-14 का जो प्राइस था, that price was 1,310 rupees, 1,310. यानी कहाँ 1,310 था और कहाँ आज 2,300 है. किस तरह से किसान भाइयों के लिए, किसान परिवारों के लिए प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी और सरकार का हमेशा एक स्पेशल फोकस रहता है, ये इसको दर्शाता है. इसी तरह से कॉटन, जो कि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट क्रॉप है, इसका एमएसपी 7,121 और एक दूसरी वैरायटी है उसमें 7,521 रुपीस डिक्लेयर किया है, जो कि 501 रुपए ज्यादा है, 501 रुपीस ज्यादा है compared to the previous MSP.
Okay, let's move on. And a lot of discussion has taken place so far as the F&O markets are concerned, including the risk factors that are involved there. Let's hear out in terms of what the top market voices had to say about that in terms of their opinion, the risk in this segment. Listen it.
I do hope the retail investor gets to be in the long-term category as opposed to the trading category, which of course is happening through the SIP route. So it is happening through the SIP route. But individual retail investors, from what I understand at least, is pretty gung-ho on F&O trading, option trading, because of the tax incentives are lined up there. I think that's probably a bit short-sighted of them.
Some of the riskiest instruments like derivatives, small investors should stay away. Sure. And they should be kept away so that it doesn't bring basically a situation where small investors can get hurt.
India real estate is 50, gold is 12, equities is single digits. There is no peak participation. In fact, I don't see that widespread ownership as yet. I think it is going to come now. And don't see it by number of people. See it by the exposure they have. What percentage of their balance sheet is in stocks? Right. We have achieved breadth in the last 7-8 years thanks to a lot of work done by the government, the regulator, the mutual fund industry. Hats off to all of them. They've achieved breadth but not depth.
The index going up is typically EPS multiplied by PE. So there has been a dramatic increase in the PE. One can take that as a sign of froth, or one can try to look underneath and see what is the structural change that we are looking at.
With the derivative market is 400 times of the underlying cash market. So we can't be creating, a sustainable bull market on the basis of that. We definitely have all the fundamentals in place.
There are all kinds of retail money that's coming to us. The more positive I feel about is the structural flow of money through the SIPs. The other part of the money will depend on the market cycle. There would be cycles where, let's say, if market goes a little sideways to a little downward, you will see some of those players kind of maybe leaving the market. But a large part of the money that we are seeing from investors is very structural in nature, and I think it has a long way to go.
Okay, let's move on. And leading Indian economists had a meeting with the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman days ahead of the budget announcement. Now, what's on the agenda and what was skipped over? Let's go across to Sumit, who's joining in with us with more details on that. Sumit?
Well, in a series of meetings before budget, today's pre-budget meeting was with the leading economists of country, with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. In the meeting were also present Finance Secretary, Revenue Secretary and other officials of the Finance Ministry. The main points of discussions were around fiscal prudence, fiscal deficit, fiscal discipline. These were the key discussions. Also, one of the point of discussion was job creation, under which PLI scheme were discussed, and also how to increase labor intensive and manufacturing sector was also discussed. A number of other issues have been plaguing economy, but on the horizon are certain positive factors also, including monsoon. This is kind of a meeting that happens before budget. July budget is coming this time, and the series of meetings happened. However, as sources tell us that no special status for states was discussed in the meeting. However, measures to control inflation, price rise were some of the points that was discussed in the meeting today.
Okay, let's move on. And the GST Council meet is scheduled for Saturday, that is the 22nd of June. The Council is expected to discuss relief for fertilizer sector. There could be a clarification on the tax slab for tobacco products and cigarettes as well. Let's go across, Sumit. Since you filed this report, tell us what more details are there.
Well, upcoming GST meet on June 22 will have a number of issues which will be discussed. One of the issues that is going to have some impact on fertilizer sector and benefits fertilizer overall sector is the GST reduction on this particular issue. Sources have told us that Fitment Committee on GST has recommended this to GOM, Group of Minister on Rationalization, as far as the demand of industry on bringing down GST on fertilizer is concerned. GST on fertilizer is 5%. Industry is demanding of complete scrapping of this, and we know from the sources that Fitment Committee has recommended this to GOM on rationalization. Apart from that, certain clarifications will come on tobacco products, BD, etc. Also, some clarification on retrospective tax issues can also come. This includes online gaming. As far as this is concerned, the 28% levy was imposed in October last year as far as online gaming sector is concerned, but this particular is linked to fertilizer also. So fertilizer demand the fertilizer industry has been demanding since long time that the 5% GST on the fertilizer should be scrapped, and that now the Fitment Committee has recommended that to the GOM on rationalization of taxes.
Thank you so much for all those updates over there, Sumit. But let's move on and talk about what's happening on the heatwave front. Now, the Health Ministry has issued an advisory to the states and union territories for rising heatwave conditions in India. Samir Dikshit is joining in with us on the phone line to give us the latest update there. Samir, what's the advisory actually highlighting here?
Yes, definitely. You mentioned in the right way that owing to the intense heat wave conditions, especially in the Delhi NCR region, which has cost the lives of 20 people, and more than 12 people they are on the critical life support. Now, seeing these sort of conditions, the Union Health Ministry has issued advisory to the states, to the union territories, specifically those states where the extreme heat wave conditions are prevailing. And the advisory clearly mentions that the states have been asked to ramp up the capacity of physicians, the pediatricians, and also the medical officers. The advisory also urged the state government that whatever the health facilities are available, whether it be central hospital or the state-supported hospital, and also the private hospital can be taken into account, their health can be taken, that they should ensure immediate attention to the patients in the facilities where they found so that any patient, that those who are coming the symptoms of heat wave or heat stroke, so immediate attention needs to be given. And also it has been mentioned in the letter that has been issued by the Union Health Ministry that there should be regular monitoring of the health indicators and these seminars should be conducted and a close watch should be kept on the situation. So advisory has been issued, but if you see the larger picture, in Delhi NCR region itself, in the 3 hospitals, it has been reported that more than 20 people they have lost their lives because of the heat stroke, and also 12 people they are still struggling for their life, and the situation or the condition is likely to get worsen in coming days.
Absolutely, Sameer. Thank you so much for that important update there coming in. But let's move on and actually sip into a very short break before we move on. Because after the break, we'll be taking you all through all the important stocks that I should be keeping an eye out on in trade today. Welcome back. You're watching Market Cafe on ET now, and like I said, we're going to get more stock specific. So we have Jinay joining in with us this morning to talk to us about which are the important stocks that we should be keeping an eye out on the radar. Jinay, good morning.
Yes, good morning. So on the back of fundraising, Vedanta and Spandana Spurti will be in focus. The boards will be meeting today for considering fundraising plans via private placement basis. Also, Brigade Enterprises will be in focus as they have signed an agreement to develop third World Trade Center tower at Info Park Kochi. This project will be completed over 3 years with a project cost of about 150 crores. Next up, Lemon Tree, they have signed a license agreement for their new hotel upcoming in Morbi, Gujarat, and the property is expected to open by fiscal 2029. Next up is Blue Dart Express. They have signed, they have commenced a drone delivery services in collaboration with Sky Air, which is a leading drone delivery company. Also, Gensol Engineering will be in focus as they have allotted a green shoe option of about 250 megawatt by GUVNL to reach their 500 megawatt battery energy storage system, that is BESS. Now with this, the total BESS order book stands at rupees 3,100 crores. Next up, Mass Financial will be in focus as they have launched the QIP of 400 crores with an option to increase it to 500 crores at a floor price of rupees 301.3 per share. And lastly, Office Space, the new IPO will be in, the recent listing will be in focus as they have come out with an Q4 results. The revenue saw an uptake of about 45%, and the company turned net profitable for the first time in quarter, reporting at 1.4 crores versus a loss of 14 crores last year.
Okay, Jinay, thank you so much for that update there. Keeping an eye out on all those important stocks on the back of news flow. But stocks are going to be in focus on the back of brokerage notes as well. A lot of brokerage notes that have come in this morning, and Gaurav has gone through all of those. Gaurav, good morning. And which are the important ones that are highlighting some bit of a change that we could see in the stock moves for these companies?
There are a lot of brokerage notes, but first let's begin with some of the initiation notes. So first let's talk about Goldman Sachs, because now they have initiated on Tata Tech with sell rating and a target price of 900 rupees per share. What they believe is that company's base revenue on, the company's revenue is based on some of the key customers like VinFast, where they are expecting decline in the overall revenue in near term. Apart from that, they also believe that company has a higher dependency when we talk about anchor customers, and with the moderate growth, we may see stable FCF, which is free cash flow growth further, and that is why they have initiated with sell rating and a target price of 900 rupees per share. Next, let's talk about Uno Minda, because here also Goldman Sachs has initiated with buy rating and a target price of 1,350 rupees, which gives a healthy upside of around 25% from the current market price. What they believe is that company is actually switching their lights in alloy wheels and EV segment. From here on, localization is in high margin alloy wheel segment is going to drive the growth for company from here on. Apart from that, there is another room for four-wheeler lighting and two-wheeler alloy wheel segment. And lastly, company has a ability to multiple from here on because of the volume growth as well as stable margin profile, and that is why they are being a little bullish on Uno Minda. Next, let's talk about Muthoot Microfinance, because Investec has initiated with buy rating and a target price of 350 rupees per share. What they believe is that this company actually has a differentiator model when we talk about MFI segment. Companies, they are expecting AUM growth to remain somewhere around 24% over the next 3 years for Muthoot Microfinance. And if we talk about valuation, at this moment, Investec believes that they are actually ignoring the positives in the company, and that is why they are being bullish on this company as well. And lastly, let's talk about DCB Bank, because Motilal Oswal has actually upgraded the rating for the bank to buy and also increase the target price to 175 rupees per share. What they believe is that their business model is very steady. From here on, loan growth is expected to be remain somewhere around 19% CAGR for the next 2 years. And if we talk about asset quality also, that also is expected to remain healthy. And with operating leverage, we may see ROE increasing further. So definitely watching out on all these companies, because we are getting a strong note coming up from brokerages on all these stocks. So definitely see how it will perform for investors as well.
We'll keep an eye out on that, how they'll be performing in trade. Thank you so much for that update there from the brokerages front this morning, Gaurav. Let's move on and talk about Indus Stars. That's the one we're keeping an eye out on, right? Yesterday, we saw about the block deal that happened by Vodafone PLC in Indus Stars. 18% stake sale over there. But what is the update coming in this morning? Management met with some of the analysts, and now we have a note that's coming from JP Morgan highlighting some of the key takeaways. What they say is that Vodafone Idea's monthly collections are on track to create a plan for clearing the past dues. Other than that, they're highlighting the possibility of the dividend in FY25 is not ruled out if Vodafone Idea is able to clear some of its past dues. Revenue growth powered by the rural rollouts, as well as Idea's incremental tenancy is something that they're watching out for. And overall, they believe that average per revenue tower has not seen an uptick as a tailwind for 5G. Loading and renewals have been offset by the mix of frugal macro towers and lean towers with the lower rental rates. Other than that, what they are also saying is that 8 to 10% of the towers are coming up for renewal every year, with the next bulk renewal now in FY27-28, and that doesn't make they don't expect the industry consolidation by Brookfield to drive any pricing pressure. So that's the update that we have coming in by JP Morgan on the meet that they had with Indus Stars yesterday. Indus Stars was a bit subdued in trade, down 3% at the end of the day. So we will be keeping an eye out on how this moves on. Spoken about, Vodafone paying off its past dues will be an interesting one to watch out for. Keep an eye out on Indus Stars. Let's move on to the next stock that we should be highlighting, and we have Tata Motors that's in focus. Now today this is also in focus on the back of an important brokerage note that we are highlighting that's coming from CLSA. When you're looking at it overall for Tata Motors, CLSA is saying that they are maintaining an outperform rating, a target price of 1,181 rupees per share is what the target price is that they've given. They say that the management is confident of operational improvement. Company is maintaining the 10% EBIT margin. The guidance in FY26, the plan to launch EV Range Rover, new Jaguar in FY25, as well as a JLR Cherry deal is to license this free lander brand. So that is what they're watching out for. Other than that, we also have a note that's coming from Incred, which is also saying they are continuing to maintain the reduced. Their target price is much lower at 769 versus what CLSA has given. But they said that the company is aiming to improve the profitability. This is despite the launch of EV Range Rover as well as the Jaguar model, which is looking a bit stretched for Incred. The long-term EBIT margin guidance, which stands at around 15% for FY30, I beg your pardon. They said that that is looking a bit ambitious for them, and they believe that to increase investments by 20% between FY24 to FY26, and also gives a guidance of lower FCF for FY25. So that is why they're maintaining the reduced rating, a bit of a different view from what CLSA has. While CLSA is maintaining its outperformance, Incred is maintaining the reduced rating. So that's all about Tata Motors. We'll see which way it moves in trade. But moving on to the next one that we should highlight, and we did, speak to a lot of market veterans, and we did speak to Ramesh Damani, member of BSE, who's sharing his view on the market and the stocks and sectors where he is placing his bets on. So listen in to what he finds attractive right now.
I am very hopeful on the PSU basket here. We have rotated, we got on from some more, we feel, expensive, quote unquote, stocks into the cheaper stocks, like in the construction and the gas business. But we are remaining well invested within that basket.
So the money, you've always been a advocate of value, but your ability to identify the next big thing or the next growth frontier is quite extraordinary. So you bought into PSU stocks because they were cheap, but the other side of Ramesh, the money, and that's a super left brain right brain combination. You're able to identify high growth companies, the next big thing. So if you have to migrate from value to high growth, how are you judging the market? Where are you investing? Where are pockets of high growth? What is the next big thing?
Great question, Nikunj, because we don't want to be certainly married to a particular sector in the stocks market or particular stocks. I mean, we want to have the fluidity of the brain to find value irrespective of which stocks. And we've been very lucky in this bull market. We found value across the spectrum. So I asked my son the following question. I said, look at what I'm doing rather than what I'm saying. And if you look at what I'm doing, I'm buying a lot of pharma stocks, which surprised me also, but I'm finding them good value out there. A couple of pharma stocks, for example, in India are chasing the holy grail, which is Ozempic, which semaglutide is, the new miracle drug, if you will. So a lot of companies are going to make a generic version of it, going to make an off-patent version of it in 2029. They're going to make devices that use it. So there's a lot of play in that whole segment. The Indian companies are doing absolutely human work in terms of antibiotic research. So those companies and the other companies that just seem, good value at this point. So if you ask me where have I put some of the money that I have booked profits in, amazingly to myself also, because I've never been great pharma bull, is I've actually put it in pharmaceutical stocks.
My next prompt perhaps is related to budget, which is that markets have now started debating, discussing, deliberating that are capital markets prepared for any change in tax regime? What is your sense?
There are 2 points, Nikunj. The first is, I think the Honorable Prime Minister during the election campaign ruled out the biggest fear that the market had, that there would be some sort of inheritance tax or death tax coming into the Indian stock market so that you can tax their state at the respective lifetimes, at the end of the respective lifetimes. And I think he ruled that out categorically. So that gave the market a huge relief, because there was actually a palpable fear that there would be that sort of plan there. Now, the question remains, do you tinker with short-term, long-term capital gains taxes? And my answer is that you don't fix something that ain't broke. The long-term, short-term tax collection figures just came out today. They're up 20-25%. The system's working fine. SCT is working fine. Money's being collected. The government has a large surplus. They have a glide path to a lower fiscal deficit. The question the market will be focusing more on is, will the politics of coalition government mean the government will have to spend more on states?
And let's move on to some top news flows coming in this morning. And amidst the fiasco over the NEET exam, the Ministry of Education has cancelled the UGC NET exam conducted by the National Testing Agency following concerns over the integrity of the exam. The after inputs of suggested comprises by the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Centre. Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will commence his 2-day trip to Jammu and Kashmir today. During his visit to the Union Territory, Prime Minister Modi will lay the foundation stone of multiple development projects and participate in the 10th International Yoga Day event in Srinagar. Moving on to some update on the weather front, even as intense heat wave is there in North India, and amidst a severe water crisis, the national capital is likely to see some respite from the heat as the western disturbance is expected to bring light and moderate showers across Delhi today. To another update that we have, at least 25 people lost their lives and over 60 have been hospitalized after consuming illicit liquor in Tamil Nadu's Kalakuruchi district. The Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has ordered a CBCID probe into the tragedy, according to officials, and the death toll is likely to go up. And in action from the world of football, the host Germany outclassed Hungary 2-0 in their Group A match. The star boy Jamal Musiala gave Germany the lead in 22nd minute before Gundogan sealed the deal with its sweet strike in the 67th minute. With the win, Germany now progressed into the knockouts. Okay, with that, we are absolutely out of time on this edition of Market Cafe. As of now, Nifty implied indicating a bit of a muted start for the Indian markets, but don't go anywhere. The markets will take the action forward for you.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.